What's the sense this morning of where we go today, Jotam? Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, we are in a regional war now, I would say. We've been in this situation for 12 months, but I think at this point it's fair to say that so many countries are involved at this point, and Israel will 100% sure retaliate. So we're going to see a major attack likely on Iranian military installations, could be their nuclear program, could be their oil facilities. But regardless, this is a regional war. The question is whether the UK, the US, and France will be dragged in more directly than they already have been, because they're obviously supporting Israel and shooting down these missiles. But will they also join Israel in attacking Iran? I'm not so sure about that.
Given the weight of the onslaught on Israeli citizens last night, what was the general mood of people that you were among?
I would say panic. It was the same in April when Iran launched ballistic missiles. Only this time around, they launched many, many more ballistic missiles. So there's a lot of panic because you don't really know if the air defense system will shoot down all of these rockets. We know that it's a very efficient system, and last time they shot down 99% of them, but it's not a guarantee. So every time this happens, people are obviously afraid, they're scared, they're running for shelter. And it's very chaotic. But when it was over and people realized that nobody in Israel had been killed, ironically, a Palestinian man in the West Bank had been killed. I'm not so sure the Iranians were targeting him. But when they realized that this was not a successful attack, there's kind of a euphoria here because it shows the difference in military strength between Iran and Israel. And now it gives Israel a carte blanche to attack Iran.
Lastly, Jotam, what are we likely to hear from the White House and or Sir Keir Starmer?
I think the United States will have already said it quite bluntly. They will support Israel more or less in any kind of response they can come up with. With the UK, I think they're going to be more verbal in their support. I doubt that the UK will take part in any Israeli orchestrated attack on Iran. But I think that Netanyahu will now seize the moment and he will try to go after either their oil facilities or their nuclear program.
Thanks for your time. Read all about it. Jotam Confino has a piece at the front page of the Telegraph today. He's the Middle East correspondent there. Listening is David Patrikarakos, who's special correspondent at the Daily Mail and has an entire page of the paper with the headline. I remind you, David wouldn't have written the headline, but he's written the piece. My Israeli sources say there's never been a better time to destroy those who want them dead. All of us who hope to live in peace must pray they succeed. David, why do you hope they succeed? Why would that bring about peace? Morning to you.
Morning. Look, I think in the final analysis, we have to understand something very simple. All of this would stop if Hezbollah stopped firing rockets at Israel and Hamas surrendered, stopped firing and released the hostages. This has gone on and on and on for decade after decade after decade. The Palestinians deserve a state, and we need a political resolution to that. But Hezbollah and Hamas, backed by the Iranian regime, have one goal, which is to eliminate the Jewish state. And against that, if you're an Israeli, there is self-evidently no retreat.
Why do you see this as a potential, if I may use the expression, golden opportunity?
Look, the proxies are on the back foot. The pager operation, I mean, we use the word in journalistic and political discourse unprecedented a lot, but this really was unprecedented. I've never seen anything like that. It decapitated 98% of the Hezbollah leadership. Then they took out Nasrallah. They whacked Haniyeh, the Hamas chief in Tehran, right in the center of the city on the day that the Iranian president was being inaugurated. Israel has the momentum. These are very, very bad people that it's going after. There's never been a better time to do it, not just for itself, but for everybody else who likes democracy and hates this kind of fanaticism and barbarism.
Duration. How long might it take, David?
Well, this is the thing. This is not a quick fix, and I fear that this is going to go on and on. But I feel, and rather, when I talk to Israelis, what they're saying is, now is the time to try and put this to bed to the degree that we can once and for all. In the Middle East, they believe that you have to negotiate from a position of strength. And unfortunately, of all the time I've spent covering that region, I'm inclined to agree with them.
Finally, there's no fear that another generation of would-be terrorists are being bred as their fathers, their uncles, their brothers, or whatever it might be, are eliminated?
I fear that may well be the case. And this is the quagmire that we're in, and it is a quagmire, and sometimes all of the options are pretty bad. But I think if you're looking at this from an Israeli point of view, what choice do you have?
David Patrikarakos is special correspondent at the Daily Mail, has a powerful piece in the paper today. Thank you for your input on that, 7:14. Let's turn now to Dr Efrat Sopher, who's a security analyst and chairs the board of advisors at the Esri Center for Iran and Gulf States Research. Thank you for coming on. What do you think now? What would you want to see from Israel? What do you fear you might see from Israel, Doctor? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Thanks for having me on. Well, as Jotam and David said, we really are in a defining moment for the entire region and indeed for the international system. I think that the Islamic Republic made a terrible miscalculation, but it also reflects where they are. So they did two things. They made an unprecedented attack with its overmatched doctrine of hurling 181 ballistic missiles. And what Israel will be looking at is the delivery capability of using ballistic missiles as a delivery vehicle. And as Jotam said, Iran has its sights on nuclear weapons. And so Israel will be concerned that in the near future, these ballistic missiles would be able to deliver something far nastier. And so Israel now, and indeed I think it's Israel and her allies, are in this defining moment where their next move will determine pretty much the future of the entire Middle East. So I would be seeing, and yes, it is concerning, but I think on the other side of a strong response, we have the potential to see a much more stable region without the mullahs of the Islamic Republic.
Doctor, we hear, understandably, calls for de-escalation from the US President, from the British Prime Minister, and calls for ceasefire. Do they need to moderate their language? Because clearly that's not going to happen now. They're looking a bit out of touch.
What I heard from the British and the US leaders was a lot of support for Israeli action, because they fully understand that they could also well be on the receiving end of such aggressive Iranian activity. And so I think that, what I heard from their words was support for Israel. And I think that they see how reluctant Israel and other countries in the region would be for escalation. But the Islamic Republic has left Israel and its allies with no alternative.